Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right. We are back. He is the great Mike Steph. I am the TheMoJoKing, and we are Hidden Gems Football. We're back with a preview of the AFC North. Before we get into the preview of the division, we must discuss Mike Steph's one big thing. What you got for us this time?
Well, before I get into the one big thing, I have to talk about a bigger thing. I like to think each and every one of y'all, the viewers that is, the listeners too, that choose to indulge us every time we drop on the YouTube streets, every time we drop on the podcast and atmosphere, for giving us a chance, listening to our unique point of views when it comes to breaking down these NFL teams to a fine china. So I would be remiss, especially being the fact that even though I don't know how this is going to come out in order, especially being the fact that y'all have indulged us for our full preview. Thanks. It's truly appreciated. Now, for my one big thing is going to none other than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everywhere we go, people want to know. Plain and simple, Mike Tomlin is the man. I mean, think about it. If it wasn't for him, the Steelers would have been also ran in this division. Throughout the waning years of Ben Roethlisberger, when he had a noodle arm, he kept them in contention. Not only did he keep them in contention, he got them to the playoffs year after year after year after year. Do you know on over 15 years as Steelers head coach, he has not ever had a below 500 record? He has never had a losing season? No, he has not. Last year, he got a team that had no business being in contention for a playoff spot in the last week of the season, finishing 7-2 down the stretch, raring to go and pick up from where they started, where they left off last season, this season. He has second-year quarterback Kenny Pickett, and he goes into this pivotal second year with an assortment of weapons at his disposal. Wide receiver Pickens, wide receiver Johnson, and tight end Fairmouth. I don't know, but he's a damn good tight end if I do say so myself. The defense has plenty of outstanding players, but there's one that rises above the rest as long as he stays healthy. And that one person is TJ Watt. Do you know, this is an interesting stat. Do you know that they allow 25 points a game defensively without him? And they only allowed 16 points a game with him in the lineup? Needless to say, Mr. Watt, TJ Watt that is very integral into the success. But like I said when I started this off, and I'll say it again, this team starts and ends with Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has set a bar of excellence that if you do not meet that bar, guess what? You are not a part of this long, proud, storied franchise in the Steel City. Pittsburgh, once again, will be competitive. Once again, they will be a tough out. And once again, I think they will strive for excellence and just perhaps achieve that excellence for which they strive. And yes, that is Mike Steph's one.
You know what? I like it because you made my job easier talking about the Steelers. You did much of my rundown. I will add that they added Allen Robinson to the wide receiver core. He'll probably play in the slot. His peak years are probably past, but with those other two receivers, I think he's in a pretty good spot. And they signed Patrick Peterson to help them in the defensive backfield. I have one interesting stat too. Deontay Johnson was their leading receiver as far as catches. He had 86 catches, 882 yards last year. Do you know he had 0 touchdowns?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
86 catches and 0 touchdowns. That's shocking me.
Well, it goes back to the abysmal quarterback play that they got, especially in the beginning of the season. Because remember, they had Trubisky. They tried the Trubisky experiment, and then they ultimately went over to Pickett. So maybe, just maybe, he could get one this year.
Yeah. Well, Pickett was quarterback for 13 games, so I mean, come on. All right. Anyway, like I said, you got into most of the details as far as the lineup, and obviously, Mike Tomlin is a very integral part here. He is 163 and 93 and 2 as a Steelers coach. 70 games over 500.
Damn.
Their offensive scoring rank was 26 last season. Their defensive rank was 10th. Very solid defense. They finished, as I think you said, 9-8, just missing the playoffs. Their win expectancy this year, and I have a feeling which way you're going to go, Mike Steph, is 8.5 games. So, what do you say? What do you say about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
8.5. I'm going over. I mean, just by law of averages. If I don't go over, then I'm saying that Mike Tomlin, after all the positive platitudes that I spewed earlier in my one big thing of him never having a losing record, if he gets below 8.5, guess what? He'll have a losing record. And that is not going to happen. No. On top of, there's one person that I actually personally forgot to mention that also is a very integral part of whatever success that they're going to have. And that's Najee Harris, running back extraordinaire. You put him in the backfield. You said they added Allen Robinson, who will probably be maybe the third wide receiver, and probably the fourth receiving option if Kenny Pickett actually expands on the success that he had last year. There's no way in hell I'm going below 8.5 wins. So yeah, all the way up. Yeah, above, over.
All right. With me, as always, I question quarterback situation. I keep hearing such glowing reviews about Kenny Pickett. And I'm not sure. Like, he looked okay last year, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think a star is coming out of that quarterback. But I have to respect so many different scouts saying that he's supposed to be the man. Pickens, on the other hand, is an athletic freak who, off his rookie season, looked very good. And if he takes the next step up, then he's definitely going to help Pickett look a little bit better anyway. The Pickett to Pickens connection. I'm kind of straight on the fence here. There's a lot of things I don't like about this team, but they're okay. They're solid. And Tomlin makes them better, usually. At the same time, streaks come to an end at some point. All right, I'm going over. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, when it comes to Mike Tomlin, streaks never die.
Mike Tomlin, eternal. See, now the thing is, for Tomlin, I think the biggest problem is that there's 17 games now.
Oh yeah, so there's no. Well, he was never really a 500 coach. We're not talking about Jeff. We're not talking about Jeff Fisher here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, two times, but we're not talking about Jeff Fisher, Mr. 7-9, 8-8. I mean, he does have a ring on his finger.
As I said in previous episodes, you better put some respect in Jeff Fisher's names. He has more wins than Bill Parcells.
Yeah, we're not gonna go over that one because we both know why.
All right, up next, as far as the AFC North, is the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski is the coach. He's had a 26-24 record with Cleveland. They have a new defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, but most of their team is very much intact. At quarterback, you have Deshaun Watson. You have Nick Chubb anchoring the running back. Kareem Hunt is gone. At the wide receiver, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and new addition, ex-Jet, Elijah Moore, who they plan to feature. You're welcome, Mike Steph. At tight end, David Njoku. On defense, they didn't have a great season last year. Part of the reason they have a new defense coordinator, but they do have some significant stars. Myles Garrett on the defensive line and cornerback Denzel Ward. Last season, they were 7-10. Their win expectancy this year, 9.5 games. What do you say, Mike Steph?
They were 7-10 last year, right? And if I'm not mistaken, because sometimes my memory just, it's almost like you put my memory in a bird, it's gonna fly backwards. You said that they were pretty much middle of the pack in both offense and defense, correct?
Yes.
But yet, the odds makers in Vegas expect them to win at least, the over-under is at least 2.5 games more than what they made last year. I guess because of the thought pattern that Mr. Watson would massage his way into 2 extra games this season. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I had to get that in. You have Elijah Moore, who I guess would be the prime beneficiary of a new environment to get to really get the potential that he has out. They have no Kareem Hunt, who, albeit was not the starter, he did spell Nick Chubb in pivotal times, and I believe allowed Nick Chubb to remain fresh so that Nick Chubb can average a career 5.2 yards a carry. Now Nick Chubb is going to be the official bell cow, and somehow that's supposed to make them better. I will say this: they do have one key addition on defense that should make the defense better, and that is defensive end Zadarius Smith, who they acquired from, they acquired from the Vikings in the offseason. Makes you wonder why the Vikings gave him up, but I'm sorry. There's only been 1 year in recent history that Cleveland has actually overachieved or even reached expectations. So 9.5, that's the over-under. Somebody in this division has to be pulling up the rear, and I believe it's going to be the team that's more comfortable pulling up the rear, because that's what they've done for the last 2 decades, and that would be the Cleveland Browns. So under. Mr. Watson, matter of fact, under.
I see why they would say they could gain 2.5, 3 games. Deshaun Watson looked horrendous last year. I can't believe he's lost that much talent. So he should come back reformed this year. Elijah Moore is an interesting addition to the team. If they're going to feature him and let him do the things that he can do, which is run.
And whine.
And hopefully not whine. I see it. My real problem is that I think this division is going to be super tough. And I think the AFC is going to be super tough. And somebody's going to struggle. And with that going, I don't know if I see the Cleveland Browns winning 3 more games than last year. I'm much more comfortable saying 9-8 than I am 10-7. So, and I'm more comfortable saying 8-9 than 10-7. So I'm definitely going with the under here. I'm more confident that they will be below than above. So I'm going under.
Deshaun Watson and the Browns deserve exactly what they got, and what they're going to get in the future, and that's not a lot of success. Not a lot of success. You know, a lot of cramps in their plans, so to speak. So, yeah, I'm going to remain under, something that Deshaun Watson likes to. Yeah. Next team.
Are you ready to step up your style without compromising the planet? Introducing the exciting partnership between BLUEVIEW Footwear and the 19 Media Group Network. Just visit bit.ly/BLUEVIEW19 to start your sustainable style journey. Our friends over at BLUEVIEW Footwear are renowned for introducing the world's first fully biodegradable sneaker. By using plant-based plastics, they are leading a revolution in cleaner materials and manufacturing. They have sleek and contemporary styles that cater to a wide range of tastes. BLUEVIEW Footwear believes that fashion and sustainability can coexist harmoniously. Explore their incredible collection of eco-friendly footwear by visiting bit.ly/BLUEVIEW19. If you let us know you made a purchase, we'll shout you out on our next show. Again, just visit bit.ly/BLUEVIEW19 today, and you'll see the ultimate collaboration of fashion, sustainability, and media excellence.
All right, up next, the Baltimore Ravens. Coached by Jim Harbaugh, he is 147-95 as the coach for the Ravens. They have a new offense coordinator, Todd Monken's taking over. He's coming from the University of Georgia. At quarterback, healed up, knee at 100%, is Lamar Jackson. This team is looking like they will pass more. But their running backs come back as well. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. At receiver, we'll see how much he has left in the tank, Odell Beckham. Rashard Bateman, who was injured most of last year, comes in. He's probably the number 2 receiver at this point. And then rookie Zay Flowers may be taking over in the slot. The top receiver was actually their tight end, Mark Andrews. Their defense last year was top-notch, led by mid-season acquisition Raekwon Smith. But they did lose defensive linemen Calais Campbell. They released them basically for salary cap issues. Last year, partially with Lamar Jackson, partially without him, their offense was ranked 20th in scoring, but their defense was 3rd as far as giving up the least points. They were 10-7 last year. Their win, expect to see according to covers.com, is 10.5 this season. What you say, Mike Steph?
Hopefully you're going to have Lamar Jackson for the entire season. Knock on wood. Hopefully he doesn't get injured, right? He's going to have even more of a chip on his shoulder because he bet on himself and scored a $260 million contract in the offseason. Now he has 2 more weapons, like you said, Flowers and Beckham, to go along with Andrews. They have a different offensive coordinator who's going to hopefully emphasize the passing game a little bit more. But with all this uptick on the offensive side, I think, or they hope not to have a dip on the defensive side. Did you know that the top 3 sack getters from last year are no longer on the team? Last year, they had 48 sacks as a team. The people that left accounted for 20 of them. Where are they going to replace that defensive production, so to speak? Will that put more pressure on the defensive backfield, who were suspect at times last year, but was able to be covered for because they were able to get to the quarterback on a more consistent basis? So that's why I say it's really going. I feel like their improvement on the offensive side is going to be needed because they're going to take a dip defensively and hopefully even out. With all that being said, 10.5. 10-7 last year without Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go over. I can see them being 11-6, 12-5, battling the next team we're going to talk about for the division. Yeah, I'll go over because I have that much faith in Lamar Jackson that I can't see them going 10-7 or below. Because like I said, they was on a trajectory to get 12, 13 wins last year before he got injured. So yeah, I'll go over.
I am confused. This is why I'm confused. Their offense was set up for what they felt Lamar Jackson does best, which was the ground attack, primary, passing, secondary. Their offense was bad last year because Lamar Jackson was hurt. Like you mentioned, they were not bad before that. I don't know if overhauling the system makes sense to me. So the reason I'm confused is I think their philosophy is a step in the wrong direction. Having Lamar Jackson there for the full season is obviously a step in the right direction. I'm going under only because I feel like they're going to stay in the same position, which is 10-7. But I easily see the argument that they would have never been 10-7 if Lamar Jackson was healthy. So I wouldn't particularly be surprised if they won 12 or 13 games, but I think they're going to win 10.
I feel like maybe they felt that they had to change somewhat the offensive philosophy for two reasons. One, that maybe they feel like they reached this ceiling, even though, like you said, they were 8-3, and up until he got hurt the last 2 years, they were still successful. But when they've gotten to the playoffs, they've hit a glass ceiling. Number one. Number two, maybe the reason why he's been hurt and hasn't been able to finish the season the last 2 seasons because they put too much of a pressure, putting too much of an emphasis on him actually running the football. So I think it's a combination of, all right, we gave this dude $260 million. We showed him the money. We invested in him which got long term. We have to protect our investment. Also, Lamar Jackson's always wanted to prove his worth as a pocket passer. Matter of fact, not even a pocket passer, just a passer per se. So I think it's a combination of the two. Do you think that might have something to do with them doing a total overhaul? And it's going to be a work in process because, like you said, they were drafting people specifically on their value of plugging into the system that they had. Not so much best available player, no, best available player for our scheme. They were only drafting people from colleges that implemented the same scheme that they would use in the pros. But like I said, do you think that's a reason why they did a little overhaul in trying to pretty much protect the investment?
Right. I think the second idea you dropped is exact reason you would do that, because Lamar Jackson kept getting hurt with the scheme that they were using, and he is their team, so they have to protect him, even if you don't include the money. When you include the money, clearly he is their franchise financially, but his talent is the reason that they're able to play well. So I 100% think that that's part of the reason that they were like, we have to protect this guy, and the best way to protect him is not to have him running as much. I get that. They're not utilizing his peak talents by switching philosophies. I personally would have been happier with them just making sure he actually handed the ball off more, as opposed to being an option for him to run. Just give it to Dobbins, just give it to Edwards, ground and pound, because not all the teams need to use the same philosophy. Kansas City is a high-flying team. You have Pat Mahomes. It didn't quite work as well when you let Dak Prescott do it. And Dak is a solid quarterback, but he's not Patrick Mahomes.
Not at all.
Not at all. I don't think, I've already said it, but I don't think Lamar Jackson sitting in the pocket is a recipe for super success. I don't see him sitting in the pocket and out-dueling a Mahomes or a Joe Burrow. I see why they would do it. I just don't think it's necessarily a good idea. But as much as I keep sounding like I'm bashing him, Lamar Jackson is a superior talent, and I would not be surprised if I'm completely wrong and he just goes on a winning streak. And plus, they did add to the receiving core. And if Odell Beckham has something left, that he could still be a number one and push those other guys to 2 and 3, they're in pretty good shape. So I'm still going under. I don't know if I put any money on it. All right. I don't know if we're going to put it in, if we're going to put this all out in the exact order that we're recording it, but I will just throw this out there to our faithful listeners. This is our last team to preview.
Yes. Yes. You know why I'm so happy? Even though my kids are grown? It's dinner time and I got kids. Let me stop.
All right. We're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, coached by Zach Taylor, whose record is 28-36-1. You kind of forget how much the Bengals have risen over the last 4 years. They're led by Joe Burrow, Joe Cool. Joe Mixon is back at running back after having a pretty controversial offseason. Their wide receivers are back as well. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, who's a free agent next year, and Tyler Boyd. They bring in Irv Smith to replace Hooper at tight end. Actually, pretty much most of this team is fully intact. As well they should be, because they were pretty dominant. Last year, they were 12-7 with a 7th ranked offense as far as scoring and the 5th ranked defense as far as least amount of points given up. Their win expectancy, according to covers.com, is 10.5 games. What do you say, Mike Steph, about the Cincinnati Bengals this year?
I mean, there's not much not to like about the Cincinnati Bengals, and that career record by Zach Taylor is crazy. I swear, it's almost like we should have split it before Joe and after Joe, because after Joe, Zach Taylor looks like a genius. Before Joe, I want to say he probably had one foot out the door. Before Joe, we looked at this franchise as penny pinching, frugal, inept. We had all these skill positions that just couldn't get out their own way. And now with Joe, dare I say they're amongst the favorites to come out of the AFC? That's crazy. So with all that being said, 10.5 wins. They've won the division the last 2 years. I'm not going to hedge my bet. I think they're going to win the division for the 3rd consecutive year, which is crazy because if I pick over 10.5, that means I have the Bengals at least 11 wins. I have Baltimore at least 11 wins, and I have Pittsburgh at least, I think, 10 wins. That means there's 3 double-digit teams, 3 double-digit winning teams in this division, and they say the AFC is tough. I mean, the AFC East is tough, which is probably best division in football. But I digress. Yeah, I mean, I don't have that much negativity to spew when it comes to Cincinnati. I really don't. As much as I'm talking and I'm going in my head trying to think of any type of dirt that I could bring up when it comes to Cincinnati, and I really can't. They even got rid of the sacrificial lamb of the defense, Eli Apple. Just that in itself lends me to say, gives credence that they're going to win 2 more games than they did last year. Because Eli Apple sucks.
I'm with you. I'm over. Actually, I kind of question why it's only 10.5 games here. I think, Burrow hurt himself early in the preseason, and he hasn't played, so maybe that's why. But he also did that last year. He was hurt in the preseason. So just like you, I have nothing real negative to say about this team. I expect them to just go steady as they go and then go into playoffs and then cause some hay in the playoffs. This is a team that nobody wants to face. Nobody that has any sense wants to face. And 10.5 to me is almost ridiculous because I can't see them being worse than 11-6.
No.
Yeah. So I know I've said it once or twice before in these previews, but this is one I'm going to go look at, and I might put some money down. The only thing I can tell you this now, since we're done with the previews, is that I don't really like putting money in for the whole season wins and losses because I don't want to wait that long to get paid.
Yeah, that's the one good. That's the one thing. I usually don't do the prop bets for the season long prop bets because I want my bread. I want it now. That's why I do the single game parlays because I want my bread right then and there.
Yeah, I understand it. With me, the only thing I put in is if I play in fantasy, full season fantasy, I put some money in because I feel like that's an investment and we'll see what happens. And of course, because we're Hidden Gems football, we will talk about Survivor, which we'll be putting in a little bit of money early on because we're trying to get paid for real. All right, we're done with the previews. Mike Steph, take us home.
Okay. Last year, we kind of was a little bit late to the party. We came in when everything was nice and hot. And this year, we made sure we gave y'all the appetizer for what's yet to come. And what's yet to come is another outstanding season of Hidden Gems football. Hidden Gems football is a part of the 19 Media Group.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
Well, that's the reason they don't win any more titles because they're wearing blue.
Exactly. Plus Dak.
Ding. Their defense, yes.
They still have David Njoku.
Yes.
It seems like he's been there forever. And they'll probably go over people's heads.
You think?
I hope.